So in this lecture we're going to look at some words connected with law. Here are the 7 words: advocate, abide by, enforce, invoke, jurisdiction, litigate, prosecute. So here's the first word: advocate. Advocate. If you've seen the lecture on political beliefs, we came across this word as a verb, which was advocate. But in law, we use this as a noun: advocate. Advocate. So an advocate is someone who recommends something publicly and is, in courts of law, is a professional person who supports or defends somebody. An advocate. Comes from the Latin. In the middle of the word is voc, which is the Latin word for voice. So an advocate uses his or her voice to push a cause. So he was a strong advocate for free speech. He worked as an advocate in the criminal court. He was a leading advocate for women's rights. So here it's legal and it's also political uses too. So you can be a strong advocate, a leading advocate. You can be an advocate for and an advocate of something. So some synonyms for advocate: lawyer, attorney, solicitor, defender, and in the political sphere, campaigner or exponent. Your next word is abide by. Abide by. If you abide by a law or an agreement or a decision, you do what it says. You do what it says you should do. Even if you don't agree with the idea, you still abide by it. You follow it. You must abide by school rules. The police make sure that people abide by the law. Employees must abide by the terms of their employment contract. So you abide by a decision, you abide by a law, you abide by an agreement, you abide by the rules. And some synonyms: accept, tolerate, acknowledge, consent, defer. You defer to the laws. Your next word is enforce. Enforce. If people in authority enforce a law or a rule, they make sure it's obeyed by people, usually by punishing them if they break the law. So the policewoman here, she is enforcing the law. Enforce. So you put into force. For example, until now, the government has only enforced the ban on American ships. The measures are being enforced by the army. A strict monetary policy was enforced. And you enforce by, you enforce the law, the police enforce the law, and you strictly enforce things. So enforce, enforces, it's a verb, enforcing, enforced. And also the noun is enforcement. So law enforcement is the job of the police. And some synonyms for enforce: apply, invoke, carry out, impose, implement, and accomplish. The next word is invoke. So if you invoke a law, you make use of it. You take an action because the law allows you to do it. Again, in the middle of the word is voc, the Latin for voice. The spelling changes a little bit though, becomes a K, not a C. So the judge invoked an international law that protects refugees. The NATO ambassador invoked the Mutual Defence Clause, and the President invoked the power given him by the Constitution. So you can invoke a law, a rule, you can invoke the Constitution, invoke legislation. And it's a verb, so invokes, invoking, invoked. Some synonyms for invoke: resort to, apply, enforce, use, so you use a law, effect. Jurisdiction. Jurisdiction is your next word. A jurisdiction is the power that a court of law or a judge has to enforce laws. Often it's a jurisdiction over an area. So the FBI has no jurisdiction in Europe. British police have no jurisdiction over foreign bank accounts. And the crime took place within the jurisdiction of the Bangkok Court of Law. So we often talk about within the jurisdiction. Outside the jurisdiction, you have jurisdiction, and you can have jurisdiction over something or someone, somewhere. So some synonyms. Jurisdiction is a very specialised word, but you could have area of authority, administration, district, power, authority, territory. Here's the next word: litigate. Litigate. This means to take legal action. To take legal action, you litigate. And the cost of litigating personal injury claims is becoming expensive. The chance of similar cases being litigated in India seems unlikely. The settlement ends more than 4 years of litigation between the two companies. The word litigation is very common in legal English. You litigate a case, litigate a claim, litigate an issue, and litigate a matter. And it's a verb, so these are the verb forms. And litigation. And some synonyms for litigate: prosecute and sue, drag into court, institute proceedings. And the next word is prosecute. Prosecute. If an authority, like a court of law, prosecutes someone, they charge them with a crime and they put them on trial in a court. So, for example, the police have decided not to prosecute because of a lack of evidence. Photographs taken by roadside cameras are enough to prosecute motorists for speeding. He is being prosecuted for a string of offences. You can prosecute a criminal, prosecute a suspect, prosecute someone for doing something, and you can successfully prosecute as well. And it's a verb, so you can have prosecutes, prosecuting, prosecuted. And the noun form is prosecution. Prosecution. Again, it's quite a specialised word, but some synonyms: arraign, indict, litigate, try, and sue. So there are your 7 law words: advocate, abide by, enforce, invoke, jurisdiction, litigate, prosecute.